what's up guys? Welcome to the channel and to episode 5 of Shift Talk. And we're gonna do a little bit of trash talking in this episode too, just to keep the theme. So we're gonna be going over kind of the top things that you should do to your S650. Now I know this style of video has been done a bit before, kind of a lot on YouTube, probably overdone, but I'm gonna give you guys my take on this with some more conviction, some hardline opinions, and a little bit of emotional charging. Because that's kind of what we do here on Shift Talk. So we're gonna go a little bit deeper into it. And to start off, the videos you guys probably have seen a lot are top 5 mods, top 10 mods, whatever they are. We're not bound by numbers here. I had 4, kind of 6, because a couple of them have parts that correlate for each other, kind of to serve the same purpose. And I was like trying to find a 5th one. It's like, what's a really good 5th one? I don't want to just add it with fluff. I was like, you know what? We're not defined by numbers here. So it's going to be kind of 4, kind of 6. Now to start off, I was looking around YouTube, kind of watching some other people's top 5 mods, top 10 mods for the S650. And good Lord, there is some really bad misinformation out there, as well as some pretty poor suggestions. Which is kind of unfortunate. So my approach to this video is the people who are watching this that are not just here for entertainment value, they actually want some pragmatic suggestions, some help. They're probably, I would guess, relatively new to the Mustang, relatively new to the mod game, and they're actually really just looking for some solid suggestions on how to get started modifying their car. So I took a few things into account here. One, we're not gonna do anything that damages the warranty. If you're pretty new to this, you just bought a $50,000, $60,000 car, doing some modifications can feel a little scary, I totally get that. I'm not gonna give you guys any suggestions that are gonna break your warranty. I just don't think that's a super good idea for the type of viewer who's probably seeing this video, looking for some pragmatic answers. Now, for the people who are watching these videos just for entertainment, I do the same thing, totally fine. Welcome to the channel, welcome to the video. So let's get started on the top things I think you should do to your S650 Mustang. So the first one, this is the only one that's not specific to the S650, but I think is absolutely essential to every car that you own. You guys need to tint your cars, okay? There's such a benefit to tinting. One, just pure looks. Whenever I can see through a car, whether it's in person, whether it's in a photo, in a video, it doesn't look good, okay? And I seriously mean that. I think you can make your car look so much better, and it genuinely, I don't want to say transforms. I'm gonna save that word for another one of the mods. Don't want to be overly dramatic. But it genuinely improves the look of your car so much when you tint the windows. And you don't have to do anything crazy. I go crazy with my tints. I'm at like 2 or 1%. It's a death trap at night, very scary to drive, but you get used to it. So you don't have to go crazy. Do something that's like 30% or more, and it's really gonna transform the look of your car. And also with the benefits of tinting, you definitely get a little bit of UV protection, kind of depending on what kind of film style you go with. Like the ceramic ones are a little bit better than the typical, but you get a little bit of heat protection, a little bit of UV protection. It keeps your car cooler, which is pretty essential here in Texas, especially in the summers. And the other benefit, which I think is probably the most important, is when you're sitting in your car, you can stare at people and they don't know you're looking at them. And that, I think, is the most important part about tinting. It's really fun to people watch, and it's even better when they can't see you. So, ladies and gentlemen, tint your Mustang, okay? Make the car look better, make the car feel better, and allow yourself to feel better by people watching where they can't see you. It's worth it, I promise. Okay, the second thing I think you guys really need to do with your Mustang, and also, all of these mods that I'm gonna talk about are not hyper expensive stuff. I'll get into the poor suggestions I saw in other videos here at the end, but these are all gonna be relatively cheap stuff. Now, they're all gonna be in the range of like $300 to $500, and I know that is a lot of money, especially when we're talking about multiples here. If you're doing 3 or 4 things that each cost $300 or $500, I get it. It's expensive, and I don't wanna just make a video and tell you guys to pump out $20,000, $30,000 of mods for your car. I'm guessing, again, you guys are probably relatively new here. It's not super great dumping and throwing a bunch of money at a brand new car that you just bought. But as you guys are probably learning, and people who have been in the car game for a while, car parts and car work, it's expensive. It's just the name of the game, unfortunately. We should have picked a cheaper hobby, but it just kind of is what it is. Stuff's pretty expensive. But in terms of kind of in the car echelon, the mods I'm talking about here are relatively cheap. Again, $300 to $500 in price range, unfortunately for each. The second thing I think that you guys should do to your S650 Mustang is lower it. Fix the fitment, fix the ride height. Stock S650s and stock S550s and even stock S197s, they sit at a terrible looking ride height. Like it's truly abysmal to see a S650 parked. They haven't done anything with the ride height, and the nose is like sitting 11 inches off the ground. It just looks really bad, and I think it needs to be fixed. This is the mod where I'm gonna use the word transform. If you guys throw a set of lowering springs on your Mustang, it truly is gonna transform the look. And I promise I'm not gonna use that word super liberally here. I don't wanna take that lightly. It's gonna transform it, okay? So the lowering springs that I'm on are the Acela lowering springs from CJ Pony Parts. And they're like $180. So they're not super expensive and they work really well. They are the same lowering springs that I've used on my S550 and also my S650 Mustang. I've never had complaints about them. I don't have any rubbing issues or anything weird like that. They're just a really good quality set of lowering springs for not a super expensive price. I know there's some iBox springs out there. Those are really good. People definitely recommend those. And there's nothing wrong with them, but they're kind of in the $300 price range. I know Steeda springs are kind of the same way. Either way, you guys are gonna love the springs, you're gonna love the look of them, but you don't have to spend crazy amounts of money on springs. Now I know obviously 180 bucks to 300 isn't a crazy jump, but things get expensive. And I wanna take some care with that when I'm kind of speaking to you guys about, you know, parts and prices that you should throw into your Mustang. But lowering springs truly are gonna change the look of your S650 Mustang. I don't know why Ford can't get this right. It is just the same way with every single Mustang they pump out that's not a specialty model. They look like they're sitting on stilts. Like they look like they're literally on jacked up suspension. And to me, I just think it looks so bad. It's something that you need to fix. And I said need, yes. It's something that you need to fix right away when you guys get your car. Speaking a bit facetiously here, but seriously, lower your Mustang. Your stock ride height looks terrible. Now, I know what you guys are probably thinking. Am I going to degrade the ride quality? Yes, you will. It's not that much though, to be fair. The ride quality is probably gonna degrade between 10 to 20%. The car's still relatively comfortable. It's not like it turns into a jarring, kind of like flat stack washer type of suspension car. It still feels good, but it feels a little bit more sprung. Suspension also feels just a little bit tighter and even slightly more capable. It takes away the floatiness of it. So it's not the worst thing in the world if you guys have never lowered your car before and you're worried about what's gonna happen to the ride quality. It really doesn't take a significant hit and it's just gonna feel a little bit more capable of a car. It's also really cool. When you drop your car off before lowering springs and then you pick it up after, you literally see how much lower you are sitting to the road. You definitely feel a little bit more in like a race car mode. It's cool. Definitely recommend it. So that I think is pretty essential for all Mustangs. I know I'm speaking out of opinion here, but truly stock ride height Mustangs look terrible, okay? Everybody agrees. Fix your ride height. And something also too, this thing that you do with your car isn't like the most essential when it comes to ride height, but you probably want to address fitment a little bit. So what you can do, also at CJ Pony Parts, they have a set of Acela wheel spacers and they're 1 inch. So it's just gonna push the wheels out 1 more inch on each corner and it's just gonna sit more flush to the wheel well. It makes it look a lot better. When you see the car either straight on or from a slight angle, it looks like its wheels are more sprawled out. And it genuinely just improves the look of the car kind of from all angles, both vertically and horizontally in terms of fitment and actual flushness. And I'm speaking in conjunction with the lowering springs, but also the wheel gap that sits between, again, like the wheel well and the tire. Wheel gaps don't look good. You guys should try to close them up as much as you can because it truly, truly makes the car look a lot better when you do that. So with the Acelytech 1-inch spacers, these are also what I'm running on my car, and the Acelytech lowering springs. This is you can get both of these in total for probably around 250 bucks. The spacers, I think if I remember, they're like $60 or $70. They fit perfectly, you just throw them on, super easy to do. Now you will, of course, have to get the lowering springs installed. But if you do a little bit of price shopping, you guys should pretty easily find a reputable shop that'll do the lowering springs for around 250 bucks. That's gonna be a pretty fair going rate for a reputable shop to install those springs for you. So again, we're around the $500 price mark. I know $500 is a lot of money. It's really easy for me to tell you guys to spend that money, but also all these parts I'm talking about, these are all parts that I have on my S650 Mustang. So I'm not speaking out of turn in terms of things I haven't done, but I'm recommending that you should. We try to keep it real on the channel here. So the third thing that I think you guys really should do that's gonna improve the look of your Mustang, and I wouldn't quite call these essential, but I think they're pretty important, and they're kind of two of the same, is a front splitter and some sort of add-on to either the rear wing or just getting a rear wing itself. So for the front splitter, even if you have the performance pack, it's still a tiny baby little splitter. Mustangs from the factory, again, for the non-specialty Mustangs, always look like they need more chin. They just need a little bit more chin, push the front end out. It just makes it look a little bit better. And I think it gives the front end a little bit more presence. The one I have on my car, it's the MP Products one. It's $130. I bought it from American Muscle. It's super easy to install. It installs perfectly. It's a drop and fit. It works for if you have a premium, or I'm sorry, it works for if you have a performance pack Mustang or a non-performance pack Mustang. And it's just a really good $130 to spend to do a decent improvement on the looks of the car. It also gives the front end, it's been kind of hard to explain. It also gives the front end more of a rake, where visually, I think the problem with the S650s in the front is if you look at it from a side profile, and I shouldn't be talking here, I have a terrible side profile. But if you look at the front end from like a side profile, one thing I don't like about the S650 that kind of changed from the S550 is if here's the front, it looks like it's canted inwards. So you have the hood line coming down and then the front end just kind of cants inwards, and I don't like that. When you add a front splitter to it, obviously there's some gap here, but when you add a front splitter to it, it just kind of gives a visual look that it has more of a positive rake rather than a negative rake in the front end. So if you lower the car, it's going to squat a little bit better, put a MP Products chin splitter on it, and you're going to get more of a front rake on the front fascia. And I think it just looks a lot better. Now, there's also other splitters to run with your S650. I know the RTR one is pretty popular. I'm kind of forgetting brands off the top of my head, but the RTR one is one of the more popular ones. It's really expensive. It doesn't have the cool side winglets, and the MP Products is more of kind of like a two-step or two-stage looking, where there's an initial splitter and then another splitter below it. I think it just looks a little bit better. But the big problem with the RTR one, in my opinion, is it's just really expensive. It's like twice, it's either like 2 times or 3 times the price of the MP Products. And to me, that's not worth it for a worse looking car part and more expensive. We don't want to do that. If you guys like the RTR splitter, go ahead and get it. It's definitely gonna improve the look of your S650. Whatever you do, throw a splitter on the front end of your car. It's gonna look a lot better, and it is gonna have an overall improvement for the aesthetic of the front end of the S650 Mustang. And speaking on that, for the wing, there's a lot of different options out there. I know a big one that people do is they'll put a Dark Horse wing on their GT Mustang or even EcoBoost Mustang. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Dark Horse, as I've said in some of my previous videos, it's not really that special of a car. Throw a Dark Horse wing on your Mustang GT. Nothing wrong with it. For what I did, I kind of went with a little bit more of a cost-effective route. So you can get like a decent Dark Horse wing for like $200 or $300. If you go for like a genuine OEM one, or at least like a higher echelon kind of brand for the Dark Horse wing, you can definitely get up there in price. I've seen some like $1,000 or more, kind of around that price point. You don't have to do that. Now, what I did is I kept the Performance Pack wing, but I added one of the, I think it's called LVA vinyls. They make like a wicker bill that's super similar to all the wicker bills that come from the company of ZL1 add-ons. You drill holes in the spoiler, and then you actually use like a riv nut gun and put rivets in, and then you actually like bolt the wicker bill to the wing. Those I think look really, really cool. It's relatively easy to do, and it costs like $130. So again, it's a pretty affordable option. It's not anything crazy in terms of price, and it definitely gives a lot more dimension to the Performance Pack wing. So definitely recommend doing something with the wing. Again, I know there's a lot of options out there. I know there's a lot of like wicker bills. RTR makes plenty of wings for the S650 Mustang. But just adding a little bit of kind of aerodynamic presence on the rear of the Mustang, I think is a pretty big improvement in terms of aesthetics for the car. So the last thing I think that you guys should do for your S650 Mustang that's pretty essential is doing something with the exhaust. Now, I've talked about exhaust before, and there are some really, really good but very expensive options out there. So if you are picking from a brand from like Corsa or from Borla, and even depending if you have an active exhaust and you want to keep that active function, between those two brands, you're going to be spending $2,000 or $3,000. Now, it's definitely a good way to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on your car, but spending that much money sucks, okay? That's a lot of money. And with this video, the whole purpose of it is to give you guys relatively pragmatic answers at a relatively affordable price. So that's not something you guys have to do. Spend $2,000 or $3,000 to upgrade your exhaust a little bit. What I did with mine is I went with, it takes me 5 tries to get this acronym right, so bear with me. MBRP. Okay, that was the first take, so I'm impressed with myself for getting that one right. An MBRP Armor Light Race version catback exhaust. It's always such a mouthful. Maybe that's why they're called a budget brand, because they're too hard to pronounce. But for their exhaust systems that are catback, they sound really, really good. I don't think they're quite up in terms of the very excelling sound quality that Borla and Corsa are going to provide, but they're still a very good sounding exhaust, and they're around the $1,000 mark. And they're a full catback system. They install perfectly. They use quality parts. And I think actually their exhaust tips are some of the best looking ones. I have the black exhaust tips, and I think they look better than the exhaust tips that come from Borla or from Corsa. So MBRP, I can't believe I keep saying this acronym and getting it correct. MBRP is a really good exhaust brand for those of you guys who don't want to spend Corsa or Borla money. And even with that, you guys don't have to go out and spend $1,000 for like a whole new exhaust. You guys can go out, take $150, maybe $200, and get an H pipe or an X pipe. What this is going to do is it's going to delete the resonators that are in your current exhaust system. And one, you're going to get a little bit more sound out of that in terms of volume. And then you're also going to get the frequencies back that resonators are meant to delete. So if you guys aren't familiar with what resonators do, there's specific frequencies that are kind of tuned out with resonators in the car. It does help a little bit in terms of exhaust drone, but if you get rid of the resonators, you're gonna get those frequencies back, which is gonna change the tone a bit, and you're gonna get a little bit more volume. And that's a relatively cheap way to wake up the sound of your car. Again, I have an MBRP exhaust. It's a full catback, and I also have headers, but definitely don't do headers if you guys are watching this video and looking for pragmatic answers to kind of things you want to do to your S650 when you first get it. But with an H-pipe, it's relatively cheap. Now, the only thing is you guys are probably not going to be able to do this yourself. And the reason I say that is because if you buy a full catback, you absolutely can do that yourself. I did that. I wish I filmed this. This is actually installed the exhaust before I started my YouTube channel, but I was on top of my parking garage. A lot of swear words were let loose that day when I was thrown in the exhaust. But The stock exhaust is a full welded system, and it is such a pain to get out. I was literally in the reverse fetal position, again, screaming curse words, like literally kicking the exhaust to get it off. If you go with any other exhaust system, they're always gonna come in 3 or 4 parts or pieces that break up the exhaust in sections. And with those, it's really easy to swap out the H-pipe because you just do, or you just undo a couple clamps and then throw the H-pipe in. With the stock exhaust on a Mustang, it is unfortunately a one-piece system. So unless you guys have the means to cut and weld metal, you probably won't be able to do this one yourself. I know kind of sounds counterintuitive because you can do a full exhaust yourself, but you can't do a part of the exhaust. And again, you can, but you're gonna have to cut some metal and you're gonna probably have to weld it too. So if you guys go with the H-pipe route or the X-pipe, you're gonna have to take it to an exhaust shop. But even still, I would not, like I'd be very surprised if it was over $200 to install an X-pipe at a decent exhaust shop. Like with the lowering springs and even tint, just shop around a little bit, try to get a decent price from a a reputable, good exhaust shop. And I would imagine you guys should probably be able to do this for like $150 to have a shop install an X-pipe or an H-pipe. That's another thing I'm gonna recommend. And it's just really gonna overall wake the car up. My Mustang was never an active exhaust, and it still isn't an active exhaust system. It was incredibly quiet, like very, very quiet for a V8. It did have a pretty good tone stock, but just very, very quiet. But also I'm used to extremely loud cars. So that kind of probably had some influence on why I want to get rid of that exhaust so quickly. But yeah, just do something relatively cheap, relatively simple like that. And I think it's gonna bring a lot more X factor into your car in terms of waking it up. You're gonna feel it. It's gonna be a bit more visceral. And I think a lot more enjoyable to drive when you actually participate in the sounds that the engine makes a little bit more than you would with a stock exhaust. Also too, to you guys a really, really rudimentary brief explanation of an X-pipe or an H-pipe. The term is very descriptive of what the pipes are. So on a V8 engine, okay, there's 2 banks of 4 cylinders, and each bank there is an exhaust manifold that comes out for the spent exhaust gases to push all that exhaust out the back of the car through the exhaust tips. Well, where the resonator is, there's just 2 pipes that flow through underneath the car, and the resonator actually kind of binds those 2 on the stock system. Now with an X-pipe or an H-pipe, it's always just 2 pipes that run parallel to each other, and they do join some way, and that's where the X or the H kind of comes in. You guys can probably imagine exactly what that means when it comes to those 2 parallel pipes, but if it's an X, they cross. If it's an H, there's a tertiary pipe that connects those 2 parallel pipes. So an H-pipe is gonna be a little bit quieter than an X-pipe, and it's gonna have a little bit deeper of a sound. I guess a bit more of a growl or a wet tone to it. With an X-pipe, it's generally considered to have a little bit more performance. Probably nothing meaningful, maybe 2 or 3 horsepower. But again, generally considered to provide a little bit more performance than the H-pipe. It's gonna be, again, I'm speaking pretty generally here, but it's gonna be a little bit louder, and the X-pipe is also going to be slightly raspier than an H-pipe. Don't ask me why any of that is the case. I have no idea, and I don't even know how to start explaining that. So those are all the things that I think you guys should seriously consider. And by seriously consider, I mean absolutely do. I'm forcing you guys to do this to your S650 Mustang. Just kidding, not forcing. But seriously consider for your car, because it's gonna drastically improve both the looks of it, the aesthetic of it, and overall feel. Obviously the sound's gonna be improved when you guys do something with the exhaust, but even more than just sound, there's just a viscerality that kind of comes into play when driving these cars. And I think all of this is definitely going to make the car feel just a little bit tighter, a little bit more capable, and a little bit more enjoyable for those who really like to get the most out of their Mustang. So hopefully that helps you guys. Now, let's get into the trash talking. It's not gonna be like pure trash talking, but there's definitely some funny information I found. Talk about those that I saw when I was kind of looking around on YouTube for people who are doing like the top 5 mods for your car. And then also there was some misinformation. So we're gonna correct that right now. Okay, so when I searched top 5 mods to do to your S650 Mustang, this misinformation I found on like the first video. And it was like, I think probably the most popular one, at least in terms of my search on YouTube. So open up the video. The first suggestion was, hey, top 5 things you must do to your S650 Mustang. Number 1, tune it. And I have some issues with that. Obviously my car is very significantly tuned. We have a Whipple on it. It's not a Whipple tune, it's a Rob Shoemaker tune. Kudos to him, his team, and his skill level. His tuning is amazing. But if you guys are looking at one of these videos and you're looking for pragmatic answers, I am assuming a little bit here, but I feel like it's probably safe to assume, like I said before, you guys are probably relatively new to this. And if you guys are relatively new to this, you guys are probably not genuinely looking to tune your brand new car, or at least brand new car to you, because you're immediately gonna blow the warranty. Okay, that's the biggest drawback to it. You're immediately gonna blow the warranty, and there are some caveats when it comes to tuning a car. So you can take it to a shop and get it tuned, and there's some advantages to that, even if they dyno tune it or street tune it. But I think probably one of the best ways to go, at least in my opinion, is to do a remote tune, which is what a lot of the shops are gonna do anyways, which there's nothing wrong with that, that's totally fine. But to do a remote tune, and you're gonna also wanna know a little bit about data logging. So also what comes with purchasing the tune is you need an RTD device. I use an RTD4, I think it's called, and you're gonna have to do some data logging. In some instances, you're gonna need to data log on a laptop, so you're gonna have to have that, and that includes downloading some software and fixing some bugs, at least the bugs that I ran into when trying to download this stuff and get the data logging to actually work on the car. There's just a lot of caveats to it. It's not as easy as just taking it to a shop to tune in most cases, unless you kind of go dyno tune. But the problem with that video is that his first suggestion was tuning it, and if the first thing you're doing is tuning your S650 Mustang, that's fine, but you're probably gonna start adding parts along the way, and you're gonna have to do a retune. So if you're dyno tuning it, that's not gonna be a very cost-effective route. If you're street tuning it, that's definitely the way to go, but again, you're gonna run into all those other caveats. You're gonna need to purchase an RTD device. You're gonna need to purchase credits to unlock your car to its OBD2 port. And you're also gonna need to install some software, probably on a laptop, and get that working for data logging for your tuner to actually pick up all the data and then send you a revised tune based on the new part that you guys install. So tuning the car right away, for those of you guys who are brand new to this, which again, I'm making an assumption here, but I think it's a safe assumption. If you guys are watching this video for pragmatic reasons, maybe not the best idea, okay? And again, probably one of the scariest things here is you are blowing your warranty. Also in that video, this is where it was really, really bad misinformation. Also in that video, he said that you are still gonna maintain your warranty if you tune your car. No, you're not. Like, just to cut through all the noise and correct his misinformation out there, you guys are not gonna maintain your warranty if you tune your car. He claimed that you can tune your car. If you have an issue that you need to submit a warranty claim, just flip back over to the stock tune, bring it in, and they won't know. They will know. The dealership will absolutely know if your ECU has been rewritten. Even if you bring it back in with the stock tune, they're gonna see that's been rewritten, and you're gonna have a really tough time getting a warranty claim. So just wanna correct that misinformation out there. That was a pretty bad point in that video. Definitely didn't like that, so here to set the record straight for you guys. If you tune your car, you are probably most likely throwing the warranty away. I say probably because I did do some research after seeing that. There looks like there are some dealerships out there that are really, really good, really, really cool to work with, that should be able to still process a warranty claim even on a tuned car. You're rolling the dice. You're really, really chancing it. And I would never, ever tune a car expecting that you are gonna be okay to bring it back, throw it with a stock tune, throw it back on, and be able to do a warranty claim on it. Specifically with the engine stuff, like say you tune your car and then you're, I don't know, you have a I don't know, a weird issue with your screen or something, that's probably gonna be just fine. But anything, maintenance, mechanical to the engine, you can kiss that goodbye if you tune your car. And are you really gonna have issues with it? Probably not if you go with a reputable tuner, but just be careful with that. If you guys see or watch people saying that you can tune your car, flip it back to the stock tune, and then be able to do any warranty claim with the engine, walk away. That's not correct. Just be careful with that. And then a few other things I saw when I was looking up these videos, which this is kind of more just on the funny side, I suppose, but I don't really think they truly understood kind of the purpose of like a video like this is. But, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. One guy put out a video where it was like top 5 things to do your S650 Mustang, and he included like full PPF, full ceramic coating, and then throwing a VMP supercharger at it. And to be fair, those are really good things that would be awesome to throw at your S650 Mustang when you first buy it, for sure. PPF and ceramic coating is never a wrong answer. And a supercharger on a Mustang is also very rarely a wrong answer. But I don't know. I don't think I could take myself seriously if I put out a video. I'm like, okay, top 5 things you guys should do to your Mustang when you first get it. Spend $20,000. Just go do it. Spend $20,000. Go spend $4,000 or $5,000 on PPF and ceramic coating, and then go spend $15,000 on a supercharger plus tuning. I just couldn't take myself seriously. Are they technically wrong answers? Absolutely not. I didn't ceramic coat or PPF my Mustang. I have ceramic coated and PPF'd some of my cars before. And it definitely is worth the $4,000 or $5,000 that you guys are gonna spend. Now, if you're doing both, you're probably doing a hybrid option where you're probably PPFing, a lot of the front ends, maybe the roof, and then ceramic coating the rest. Definitely expect to spend around $4,000 or $5,000 to do that. If you're PPFing the entire car, you're gonna get a lot closer to 10 grand. But yeah, the last thing I'm ever gonna do for you guys is make a kind of an entry-level video for you guys who are relatively new to, the Mustang platform, the S650 or modifying, and then suggest that you go spend $20,000 on it. I just couldn't do that. But anyways, another thing I saw, and I thought this was hilarious, is somebody, again, it was like, top 5 things you can do to your car. I think it was like to make more power without a tune, is taking out the carbon traps. So if you guys are not familiar, but there's, 2 air filters, there's 2 throttle bodies, and then 2, air pipes that connect, the air boxes to the throttle bodies, then connect to the intake manifold. Inside those air pipes, there's carbon traps. My understanding is they're there to help emissions a little bit, and they do enough emission help to be able to avoid some sort of tax or some sort of credit that Ford gets. So there is, a pragmatic reason why those are there. I don't think Ford would prefer for those, but it's just something that's on the car. Unfortunately, I guess. But there's carbon traps that are inside the intake tubes. And with those carbon traps, they do, to some level, block a little bit of airflow. So the claim was if you take those carbon traps off, you're gonna make 16 to 20 horsepower to the wheel. That's not true. You guys are absolutely not gonna pick up 16 to 20 wheel horsepower if you remove those carbon traps. If you wanna take them out, that's fine. I don't think you should have any issues with warranty. I'd be shocked if you did. But I really don't think it's worth the time removing those carbon traps. There's a few articles and a few videos out there. I think you could safely say you'll pick up 1 horsepower to the wheel. And even that, it's all gonna be conditional, right? Even just pull by pull, your engine's gonna vary probably 5 plus or minus horsepower, even more than that, just per pull. Doing nothing, changing nothing, modifying nothing between each dyno run. So that was also some misinformation out there that I wanted to correct. If you guys are looking up these videos, you guys are, again, probably new. A lot of this information is gonna be brand new to you guys. So if someone tells you to remove the carbon traps so you can pick up 16 to 20 wheel horsepower, that's not true. That's absolutely a lie. You're not making your car faster by removing those carbon traps. So I think just leave them in. Also too, a few things else that I kind of saw with these videos I told you guys we're doing some trash talking here. Cold air intakes. The stock intakes are already cold air intakes. You're not going to get colder than how it is already set up on the S650 Mustang. People have been dynoing their cars after installing like the K&N ones or the Steeda ones, and it looks like on average you could pick up 3 to 5 horsepower, but that is such a meaningless amount of horsepower to spend for $500 that I really don't think it's worth it. So if you guys are relatively new to this S650 Mustang thing, save the $500. Don't go buy some, brand new cold air intakes and thinking that you're going to be gapping stock S650s, because you're not. But caveat to that, if you guys like the look of the Steeda, air filter kit or the K&N one, go spend the money. Absolutely go spend the money. That's totally valid. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, only buy the cold air intakes if you just really like the look of them. I think that is super easy to justify. If you think, that aesthetic improvement is worth the $500 or $600 or whatever the price is for those cold air intakes, then go do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So don't do it if you're looking for a power increase. Do it if you want an aesthetic look improvement. So hopefully that helps with that. Okay, so that is going to be the entire covering of kind of the 4, kind of the 6, but first modifications I definitely think you guys need to do to your S650 Mustang. You don't need to do them, but you should, okay? Just do it. And hopefully we kind of corrected some internet misinformation that's out there on YouTube. Again, I want to help you guys. I want to keep it real here. If I see some really bad suggestions or some crazy suggestions, I figured I'd call them out on this episode of Shift Talk, because that's what we're here for. We kind of talk a little bit of trash. So hopefully you guys appreciate this video. And to give you guys my typical spiel, don't worry about commenting, liking, or subscribing on my channel. If you guys want to do that, I'd be more than honored, truly and sincerely. But if you guys are here just watching my content, enjoying it, being entertained by it, or taking some pragmatic value out of it, that's all I could ask for in the world, and I appreciate you guys so much for doing that. So I will catch you guys in the next video, and take care.